Welcome to this week's show, everybody. You know, in the past we've shown you a whole bunch of different ways to get better horsepower with gasoline motors, but we also realize that a lot of you guys out there are driving trucks with diesel engines too. So we thought it'd be a really good idea to massage one of those up for you.
So today we're going to see what we can squeeze out of this brand new Dodge Ram with the Cummins diesel engine. Now, one of the unique things about a diesel engine is you can get some serious horsepower and torque out of them without sacrificing fuel economy. Matter of fact, everything we're going to do to this truck today will give us more power, also give us better mileage.
As you can see, the stock numbers on our 24-valve Cummins are more than respectable for a stock pickup at about 180 horsepower at 410 foot-pounds of torque. But you guys know how it is. You can never have too much grunt. So we went to Banks Engineering for their PowerPack kit to see if we can improve on our stock numbers.
Now, the best way to make any engine, especially a diesel, really come alive is to help it to breathe better. And the PowerPack system definitely takes care of all aspects of that. So the first thing we're going to deal with is the turbocharger and the exhaust system. With the air inlet tube and the air filter box out of the way, we can unbolt the exhaust system. Then unbolt the oil drain and the oil supply line from the turbo. Finally, unbolt the turbocharger from the manifold and the outlet tube. Now make sure you put a rag over that outlet tube so no junk falls down inside there.
Now that we have the turbo out, we can tear into the stock exhaust. Now we will dump the entire system, but we do need to reuse the rubber frame mounts to hang the new system. A good shot of penetrating lube is not only going to preserve the mount, but it's going to help the pins pop out easier as well.
Now, one of the ways that Banks deals with the turbocharger is with a larger lower back pressure turbine housing and a better suited actuator. Now, this makes the boost come on quicker and stay on longer. Now, to install it, put the turbo into a vise, take out the bolts, and then pop out the center bearing and compressor assembly from the old housing. Then you can install them into the new turbine housing.
Another place you can really open things up is with the exhaust. Now, the stock system comes with a 3-inch pipe, which is definitely pretty big, but Banks supplies a massive 4-inch stainless steel replacement. It's going to make a huge difference. And if that's not enough for you, the kit also comes with a Dynaflow Muffler.
Now, you've got a thermocouple that comes with the kit, and it monitors the temperature of the exhaust gases that go into the turbo. It mounts right back here in this rear exhaust port. Now, to install it, take a small rag, stuff it into the exhaust passage. Now, what this does is keep any metal shavings from getting into the manifold. Then you can drill your hole, tap it. After all that's done, you can install the thermocouple. Finally, bolt on the turbo.
Now, while Stace was putting our modified turbo on, I went ahead and got started on the exhaust system. First thing I did was put on a new outlet pipe, then got a 4-inch clamp loosely in place so I could slide the intermediate pipe on. Now, for you guys with extended cabs, the kit also includes an extension pipe.
Now it's time for the muffler. Here you go.
Got it.
Now, the kit comes with special hanger clamps that slide right into the factory rubber mounts. Now, you may have noticed that we haven't used a catalytic converter on this application. That's because with the diesel, you don't need one.
To finish off our monster exhaust, Banks also supplies the tailpipe along with a really nice looking stainless steel tip. Now, the entire section goes up over the rear axle and into the muffler, and once you have everything where you want it, you can tighten it down. Now, for you guys who don't know exactly how a turbocharger works, we'll explain it to you. Now, what we have on the motor we're going to stuff into the Harry hauler is a supercharger, and that's driven by a belt off the crank.
Now, a turbocharger, on the other hand, is spun by exhaust gases. Let me show you how it works. Exhaust comes out of the manifold into the turbine housing, where it spins the turbine and then continues out the pipe. Now, the turbine spins a shaft that's connected to another turbine inside of the compressor. Now, the compressor acts like a centrifugal supercharger. It sucks fresh air in, compresses it, and then blows it out of this tube into the intercooler and eventually to the intake. Now, we've already upgraded the exhaust system and the turbocharger on this Cummins diesel engine. So now we're going to deal with the computer and the air inlet on this big old Dodge.
You know, one of the best parts about this kit from Banks is they haven't left anything out. For the intake, you've got this brand new high-flowing inlet tube, and the brains behind the operation is what they call the AutoMind computer. Of course, the kit also includes all the wiring and hookups you'll need, as well as the gauges and gauge pod. Here's that new inlet tube, man.
All right. Now, obviously, with the turbo upgraded, we've got to do something with this air inlet so it'll handle the flow. As you can see, this stock piece is pretty restrictive, so we're going to pull it off of there. Now to do this, we've already disconnected the air inlet tube, taken off the dipstick, and finally unbolted the inlet. Now, since the new wiring harness is going to run underneath the inlet, we're going to wait to put this new piece on. Also, these 3 bolts need to come out so we can move this throttle assembly this direction so we can get to the wire underneath.
While Stacey's dealing with things under the hood, I can work on the brain transplant. Now, our Ram has trailer brakes, so the first thing we had to do is get the module out of the way. Now, the AutoMind mounts best behind this panel out of sight below the steering column. All you have to do is pop off the panel and remove these 2 screws on the right-hand side. Now, eventually the AutoMind is going to mount between the plastic dash and the metal sub panel. But we don't want to do that until we have all of our hookups taken care of.
Now, we know a lot of you guys get really nervous when it comes to wiring, but don't worry. Banks has made this pretty easy for you. All you have to do is splice into this wire here on top of the fuel injection pump, plug in this yellow wire, then we're just going to lay the harness in place and finally run it through the grommet in the firewall into the cab to melt.
All right, Stace, I got it. Now all you have to do is plug the main connector into the AutoMind. By the way, this little black box upgrades your fuel system by controlling the fuel delivery. In other words, it matches the fuel delivered to the airflow you're getting for maximum power and efficiency. Once you have everything hooked up, make sure all your wires are out of the way.
Finally, we can hook up the rest of the harness. Now it splices right in line here and goes to the throttle position sensor. It does the same thing back here with the map sensor on the intake. Then finally, we're going to hook up a ground to this bolt and finish off with our thermocouple wiring.
To be able to monitor our new system, we have a turbo boost and exhaust temperature gauge. Now with our kit, we decided to go with this pod that mounts to the A-pillar to give us easy access without having to tear up the dash on our brand new Ram. Now once you have the gauges and pods securely in place, all you have to do is run the wires over to the back of the AutoMind and plug it in.
With all the wiring hooked up, the last thing we need to do under the hood is put on this air intake. Now you will have to relocate the dipstick using the hardware in the kit. Now one of the cool things about this setup is, other than this pipe, you don't even know what's on there until you stomp on the gas.
Speaking of stomping on the gas, I'd say it's about time to put our Ram on the dyno and see what we picked up.
Let's do it.
Well, as you can see, the numbers don't lie. We picked up about 108 horsepower and almost 240 foot-pounds of torque by bolting on the Banks PowerPack system. Heck, with those kind of numbers, we can tow a house behind our Ram now. And the best part is, Banks claims we're going to get about 7% better fuel economy.
Now for all you Ford and Chevy guys that are kicking the dirt out there, well, you can just relax, because Banks also makes a kit for the Ford Powerstroke and the GM diesel. But until you get one of your own, well, you're going to be looking at the taillights of our big old Dodge.